Hello everybody, welcome to Cheeseology with Adam. I'm Adam, the cheesiest channel on YouTube. Today we're going to be making a 30-minute mozzarella. Being able to make mozzarella is a dangerous skill to have, but it'll make you popular with your friends and family. It's pretty easy to make. Well, actually probably one of the easiest cheeses to make. There's no aging time. You can eat it while it's still warm from processing it, and it's absolutely delicious. A couple things that we need to start off with is stock pot. I use a burner, I use a hot pad out in my garage. This is where I have my stuff set up. You can do all this right in your kitchen. Gallon of, I use whole fat vitamin D milk, bought from the store. You cannot use ultra pasteurized milk when making cheese. The curd will not set properly. It can be pasteurized, just a regular vitamin D milk is fine, but not ultra pasteurized. We're going to need some citric acid. Buy this at your local grocery store, granulars. And then with the citric acid, a cup of non-chlorinated water to dissolve the citric acid granulars. Then we're going to need rennet. You can use tablets, or I use liquid animal rennet. And that'll be mixed with a quarter cup of non-chlorinated water. Then you'll obviously need a good thermometer, as I went over before in another video for cheese making equipment. Good thermometer is essential. Some small measuring spoons for measuring out the rennet. You only need a little bit. More is not better. You want to use what recipe, if you're following a recipe, you want to use the amount of rennet that the recipe says. A knife, curd knife to cut your curd. This is basically like a icing spatula. And then a little bit of cheesecloth and a colander. I have a very big colander here I use for bigger batches. The colander in your kitchen will be perfectly fine for making this cheese. First thing we're going to want to do, we want to mix 1.5 teaspoons of citric acid into our cup of non-chlorinated water. So I'll go ahead and do that. This is a new bag, so I'm going to open this up. Just want to swirl this around. You can do this in a regular bowl. I just happen to use some beakers. And while that's dissolving, I'm going to prepare the rennet now. I just use a 1/4 teaspoon. Mix that up a little bit. And we have the rennet and the citric acid mixed up. We're going to take the lid off our pot. We're going to pour into our empty stock pot, we're going to pour a citric acid water solution. Put that in first, so when we dump the milk in, it mixes up real well. Again, 30-minute mozzarella. Once you have all your stuff together, the processing time is about 30 minutes. And like I said, you can slice this while it's still warm. It's absolutely fabulous. My milk is in my stock pot. Now I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to raise the temperature to 90 degrees. I got my thermometer. Adjust the thermometer. So I have my hot pad on. I'm going to raise this to 90 degrees. I've let the milk sit out for a few hours, so it's already in the 60s or so. We're done with our rennet, and we're done with the container for our citric acid. While we're heating up the milk, on the side, you want to heat up a pot of water to 175 degrees. What this is going to do is, once we have our curd set and drained, we're going to take that curd mass, kind of mush it together a little bit. We're going to put it into that hot water. You have to use some kind of gloves. And heating it up with that hot water will make the cheese stretchable. Mozzarella is a stretched cheese. If you're not stretching it, you're not making mozzarella. That's the best part of this whole process. It's fun, and you'll see what I mean once we get to that step. I use a pair of rubber black gloves. They're pretty thick. Regular kitchen gloves, I think they might work, but I think the heat will transfer pretty quick. These, I don't feel any of the heat. So I have no problem putting my hands in 175-degree water and then pulling and then stretching the curd. What I like to do is every so often while the milk is heating, I give it a little stir just so it's heating up consistently through the milk. I don't want the bottom real hot and the top not at the same temperature, so I just give it a stir every so often. And you're gonna see, I can see just in a few minutes that this milk has been in, the citric acid, it's already curdling a bit, which is good. That's what we want. That's normal activity, I should say. Give it a little stir. I'm at about 65 degrees. We're just gonna let that set a little bit. We're at about 65 degrees right now, almost 70. We don't want to blast the heat on the milk. We want to bring it up slowly. I mean, not an hour, but you don't want to just crank it on high just to jump up the heat. So right now I'm already at 70 degrees. So about another 15 degrees. Then we're going to take it off the heat, add the rennet, stir that in, let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we should have a good formed curd mass. And then the fun begins. While we're waiting for the milk to heat up, I'd like to share a cheese joke. Why is Christmas the cheesiest holiday? Because of baby cheeses. I'm almost at 80 degrees now. A few more minutes, and I should be at 90. And then we can add the rennet and begin the curd formation process. We are at almost 90 degrees. We'll give it another stir. The citric acid's doing its thing, making this milk curdle. That will be the last stir for the heating process, as we're almost there. Now, if you're using electric like I am here, even if it's just your electric stove, I always take the pot off because the burner will still be warm and your temperature will continue to rise. You don't want that. You want to immediately remove the heat source once you're at target temperature for the cheese you're making. Okay, we're at 90 degrees. I'm going to take my pot off the heat source, turn that off, but it's still a little hot. Remove the lid. Sorry about that. And also the thermometer. Now we're going to add our rennet solution that's diluted in a 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water. Just want to add this in slowly. And we'll mix this slowly for about 30 seconds. This is pretty shallow because it's only 1 gallon of milk. If this were a little bit deeper, you want to do up and down movements. So the rennet isn't just swirled around the top, but also thoroughly mixed into the whole volume of milk. So I'm stirring this a little bit. I'll put my lid back on so it will retain the heat. We only have to let this sit for about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to give it about 8 minutes, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when we cut the curd. While you're letting the curd firm up after you've added the rennet, you want to make sure it's undisturbed. You don't want to be moving the pot around. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes.
You want to cut the curd in a checkerboard pattern, a series of vertical and horizontal lines about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch wide.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drain the curd into my cheesecloth lined colander, and then we will form that curd into a ball and then put it into our 175 degree water. Now I have my 175 degree water. I have my mozzarella that I drained the whey off of by dumping the curd into the cheesecloth in the colander. And then what I did was I bunched up the cheesecloth, held it tight, and just kind of squeezed it a little bit just to get more of the whey out, so it was a little bit more of a firmer mass. I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in the water for a minute or so and let it get hot, and then we're going to start stretching. One other item I forgot to mention you'll need is a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to put on my gloves. My curd mass is off to the side here. I'm going to grab that, I'm going to put it in the water, and the fun begins. Here's my curd mass. I'm going to put it in the water. We're going to let it get hot. To feel it get very soft. The reason you heat it up is so you can stretch it, which we'll try to do right now. Alrighty, I'm gonna fold it over a few times, make sure it's consolidated. I don't want pieces just falling off. Still needs to heat up more, I see. If it's brittle and breaking apart like it is right here for me, that means it's not warm enough. So we're gonna put this back in. Just let it get warm. Still a little cool. So we're just gonna, you wanna work it. You wanna knead it like dough. Make sure it doesn't fall apart. If it's cool, like I said, it'll be a little brittle, but that's okay. We can fix that. You'll see it'll start to get smooth. So put that back in the water. We're gonna let that heat up a little bit. Okay, let's give it another shot. Oh yeah, it's still a little brittle. Now I'm gonna put this back in here. I'm gonna get some more of my hot water that I have off to the side and just top this off a little. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, starting to get there. See how it's starting to get stretchy? Look at that. That's what we want. I want to get it a little bit hotter because it tears easy, or if it's brittle, it's too cool. You'll go from brittle to tearing easy. You'll be able to stretch it a little bit, but it'll still tear a little easy. You still want to warm it up a little bit more. So I just have it back in the water, getting a little bit warmer. Look at that. That's a gallon of milk, folks, right there. Look at that. That's mozzarella. A little bit more, and then I'm going to stretch it kind of flat. I'm going to add the salt and then fold it over and really work it in. If I just add salt to it and throw it back in the water, it's going to wash away all the salt. We want the salt in the cheese, not in the water. So I'm putting about a teaspoon in here. All right. So we're going to do some stretching again. Just keep on folding it over itself. After you stretch it a few times and you think you're about done, just start stretching it over itself. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it on camera, see how shiny that is? We're almost there. All right, we're in the final folding stage. So we'll keep on folding over itself. So we've already done the stretching. Right there, folks, you have your mozzarella. What I like to do, you can pull pieces, stretch it, and put it into whey to make smaller pieces. I like just to make like a loaf like this. I can slice it easy. So I just keep it as one mass. Kind of form it like this. Right there is your mozzarella. Fabulous mozzarella. And we're gonna, now, fun part, we're gonna eat a piece. Fabulous. There's 1 gallon of milk made in the mozzarella in 30 minutes. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button.